All right, I see the meeting is being live streamed, so I believe we are live. Good afternoon. This is Delegate Sheila Ruth, Chair of the Labor Subcommittee. Welcome to the Labor Subcommittee and all my wonderful members. Today we are covering 3 bills. And as always, advocates are here to answer questions or address any concerns that come up. So subcommittee members, if you would like to call on any advocates, please let me know, and, happy to call on them and let them, address whatever issue is coming up. And so we're going to start with HB 1016, which we've discussed before. Delegate Stewart drafted some amendments based on our last subcommittee meeting. And Kyra, do you want to share screen and also just briefly reintroduce the bill as a refresher?
Sure. So as introduced, the bill establishes that a non-compete or conflict of interest provision in an employment contract is null and void if it involves an employee of an employer that employs more than 30 employees and subsequently relocates, reorganizes, or otherwise ceases to have a majority of its employees in principal place of business in the state. I will request to share my screen. 1 second. That request is sent. And I think you all should be able to see that now. So amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 defines enforcement date. It also defines principal place of business to address some of the issues that were previously discussed by the subcommittee members, and then it also applies the provisions of the bill to an employee of an employer that on the first day of the employee's employment employs more than 30 employees, the majority of whom report to a primary work site located in the state or perform work remotely within the state. And then on the enforcement date, does not have the majority of its employees report to a primary work site located in the state or perform work remotely in the state, or does not have a principal place of business in the state.
Great, thank you so much. So we did discuss this yesterday in principle. We do now have the officially drafted amendments. Delegate Stewart, did you want to add anything?
No, Madam Chair, I think we covered it pretty well yesterday. DLS did a nice job on the amendment. I think the bill is a lot stronger now, and I appreciate the sponsor being flexible with me as we work through this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Any other subcommittees members have comments on this or discussion on the amendments? All right. Delegate Pruski, are you on?
I am, Madam Chair.
Did you have any additional comments about the amendments?
No, I did not. I did want to thank Delegate Stewart for providing the legalese. I think the guardrails and everything and the questions are provided. So I just want to thank him. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, let's start with, is there a motion on the amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of adopting these amendments, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I see no opposed. So is there any further discussion on the amendments? I think is Grayson on?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Did you want to talk about the amendments at all?
I'll just note, I appreciate Delegate Stewart's work on the bill. I appreciate Delegate Pruski's work. I appreciate his intent, but we are still opposed, even with the amended version of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Any subcommittee members have discussion on the amendments?
Do you mean on the bill?
No, we moved and seconded the amendments. We haven't voted yet.
No, okay.
Before we vote, I just wanted any last comments on the amendments. All right. Oh no, we did vote on the amendments. I apologize.
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
sorry, lost track there. All right, any discussion on the bill as amended? All right, all in favor of the bill as amended, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed, I'm just gonna flag it for now.
Okay, so you are opposed, Delegate Chisholm.
Correct.
Any other opposed? All right, thank you. The bill passes, favorable with amendments. All right, so next we're going to go to HB 864, which is the chair's bill. Kyra, do you want to introduce that? Did I get the number right?
Sure. All right, HB 864, as introduced, requires the contractors and subcontractors that employ 4 or more individuals on covered public work projects use apprentices and journey workers for a specified percentage of the work. It also repeals the option for contractors and subcontractors on covered public work projects to make contributions to a registered apprenticeship instead of participating in the apprenticeship program. It alters the definition of covered project from a contract with a value of $500,000 or more to a project that is subject to the prevailing wage law. And 3 applies that these requirements to public 4-year universities and Baltimore City Community College. And there are amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies that a qualified apprentice or journey worker means an individual who has graduated from a registered apprenticeship training program within 3 years before the start date of the covered project. It defines what a qualified pre-apprenticeship program is, requires the secretary to award funds to a qualified pre-apprenticeship or workforce development program that demonstrates a record of successful placements. It requires a contractor or subcontractor to make payments into the state apprenticeship training fund, if the contractor or subcontractor elects to make payments to the fund or fails to meet their full qualified apprentice or journey worker utilization requirements. And lastly, it provides that a contractor or subcontractor that fails to meet the requirements is liable for an amount equal to twice the amount of the unpaid contributions required under the subtitle or a fine of up to $10,000. And I will share what the preprint looks like.
Can you zoom it a little larger?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is all existing law. And here's the definition of a qualified, apprentice or journey worker. It means an individual who has graduated from a registered apprenticeship program or is participating in a registered apprenticeship program. And then here's the definition of a qualified apprenticeship connected program, which just specifies that the program has to have demonstrated success with placing participants into a registered apprenticeship program. And I am scrolling down. And these are the end of the amendments.
Okay, great. Does anyone on the subcommittee have questions about the amendments or discussion on the amendments? Delegate Chisholm.
Just quickly, so they're no longer allowed to just make a contribution to the apprenticeship program? Is that what, I thought I heard you say that first, Kira.
So I think as introduced, I believe, 1 second. Yeah, as introduced, it repealed that option. I think that option is restored into the amendment, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so then on page 12, where it says beginning with the last amendment that I'm reading,
Okay.
it changes the fine from $100 to $10,000, correct?
Yes. Up to $10,000.
Wouldn't they be smarter just to make well, at that point, they would be smarter just to make the contribution, correct? Was it-
I'm unable to speak on the policy.
Hmm.
Delegate Stewart?
I don't think that's 100 though, right? That's 100 multiplied by the total number of labor hours. So 10,000 actually could actually be a better deal for them.
Thank you for pointing that out. It's a little
Okay.
hard to read with the strike through.
So 10,000 would be the ceiling, as you
Yeah,
understand
it
it?
says it says up to. So yeah, that actually could be. I mean, some of these projects have a massive number of labor hours, so that actually could be.
You're muted, Delegate Stewart.
I think his connection's cut now.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I was just saying that a lot of these projects have a massive number of total labor hours, so that actually could be a fine reduction.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion from subcommittee members on the amendments? Is anyone from the sponsor on here? Anyone representing the sponsor? I don't see anyone. Okay, so let's move and second the amendments, and then I'm going to see if any of the advocates want to respond, and then we'll take a vote on the amendments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the amendments have been moved and seconded. Let's see. Let me start with President Edwards. Did you have any comments on the amendments here? Are you familiar with the amendments?
No, we're fine, as far as I know, and I don't see Ray Baker on here.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Let's see, Grayson, do these amendments address your concerns?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. On this one, we would defer to ABC, who I think Sean's on the call.
Okay, Sean, are you on the call?
Yes, ma'am. We actually appreciate the sponsors' efforts on this bill. We think it's a good bill that we supported. There is one section, it's the definition on page 7 of qualified apprentice or apprenticeship connected program. And it's K2. It's on line 11, K2, it's added language. It's two that we're concerned with. There's a separate bill on this about apprentice programs and graduation rates. In that, while we had concerns about that on that bill, the Department of Labor apprentice, who oversees the apprentice program, had a different alternative, which was they were trying to get at contractors who put apprentices onto a program, onto a job site, and then when the job's over, don't keep them on the job site or don't keep them in the apprentice program. We at ABC have a problem with that in MMCA. We want people to complete our programs. However, depending on the program, we're just not sure this 25%. There are good programs that are certified by Department of Labor, but we're not sure what graduation rates are, depending on where they're located in the state, what population they're trying to get to. And there's a different bill talking about this. I'm not sure we have to put it in this definition here.
All right, thank you so much. Andrew, I think you're on. Can you address that at all?
Yes. So I may have to circle back. I do see what Sean's talking about. We had worked on the other bill that is in the Senate. There might be a House cross file. There is a distinction between, I think, on the apprenticeship side between joint union programs and non-union programs. And I think the intent of the other bill was to have that rate tagged on the joint union side to the programs, where this as the distinction on the non-union side was it would be tagged to the actual contractor. Um, so if that, I guess I'm not, I have to check with my team to see if that if the as determined by Department of Labor language captures that, and we're able to make that distinction, or if there's actual language needed, or if it's maybe separate. Happy to follow up with you, but I do think there is, we were looking at it as a slight difference in the other bill.
Thank you. Matt.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, to that point, Andrew, I'm reading your testimony from the Senate bill with the favorable with amendments, and yeah, you're right about updating the language that needs clarification. And then, Madam Chair, as Sean mentioned, that 20% ABC, we would still have a lot of issues, and we would want that lowered to about 10% to be in line with surrounding jurisdictions, including New Jersey and other states. So with that, I know we sent that 10% in amendment language to the chair, but that's where we would want to be.
Okay, is there, just want to check one more time if there's any representative from the sponsor on. Okay, Delegate Tarasa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know why we'd move away from the 25%. I mean, I hear that they're good, successful programs, but I don't know how we would define success without that. I mean, it seems to me 25% is pretty low, and I would support keeping that.
Thank you. Did any subcommittee members want to call on anybody else?
I'd like to call on President Edwards.
Thank you, President Edwards.
I would just say that the reason, I mean, when you think of only having, a performance of a quarter of whatever, your apprentices are, that is pretty low. You're talking only a quarter. And if we go all the way down to 10%, one of the issues is not establishing apprenticeship programs just, by fly the night, but to actually have them have graduation and literally completion of the program. And not to just say, well, we've got X amount of people in there, and if only 10% are graduates, then completing the process, that is not where we're going with all of this apprenticeship expectations that we're putting on here in the state. And so, that's why the 25% we thought was important to stay in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Chisholm.
Can either Sean or Matt talk to, they were talking about different jurisdictions where this becomes a problem. Can you cite any real world examples or give me some sort of a scenario where you think this is going to be problematic?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This is a new metric, and this is why there's a whole other bill and testimony on it. This was not discussed in the hearing of this bill. But so ABC has a training center, one of the only ones in the country in an urban area, in a city located in East Baltimore. We encourage wide participation to bring people into pre-apprentice programs, as well as our returning citizen program, Project Jumpstart. And, depending on the class, depending on the year, I'm not certain that we're not getting there, but we haven't been able to verify because it's not something that we've been asked to track or keep. And which is why the Department of Labor was saying, hey, let's go after the bad actor, the contractor who we don't support, the contractor who would bring apprentices on for the purposes of the job and not keep them in the program once the job ends. We want all of our people to graduate, but from the student's perspective, if the employer is not paying for it, they're not going to be able to complete the program. So that's who we wanted to target with this. This is a new concept introduced in a different bill. But I just think to put it in this is a great bill. But to put it in this bill, and we don't have those percentages tracked. So that's our concern, Delegate Chisholm, is, these aren't programs where we're looking at SAT scores and trying to predict success. We're trying to get people in, train them, and they may not work as an electrician, but we're able to work them in another apprentice program. So I think that's our concern with this. Obviously, we support the bill. We're not trying to mess with the bill. And by the way, all these programs have to be certified by the Department of Labor in the state or federally anyways. So these aren't fly-by-night programs.
Yeah.
We've just put 25% on here without paying attention to what the true graduation rates are.
Yeah. Actually, and I think
Excuse me, Matt. You need to wait for me to call on you. This is not an opportunity for other than the subcommittee to engage in discussion, but go ahead if you'd like to address, add on to what Sean just said.
Yeah, well, just adding on, I'm looking at, the department's testimony and how they're saying they're clarifying not just the language on new registered apprenticeship programs, but also with data needed to get that baseline. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Chisholm, did you have anything to add?
Only that I think that, and I don't want to wreck the chairwoman's bill, but maybe we should start to get some of these data sets and get a report back before we start handing out, the fines that might inadvertently trap some of these good companies. I know we're going after the bad companies, but without having the data sets to know exactly whether or not that 25% falls in line with reality or not, I'm not sure.
Okay,
Without
thank you.
knowing. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Tarasa?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's legitimate to have a number in there that adds to our definition of good companies. Like, I think I think that's a low rate, and it's fine. I think it needs to be in the bill. I think that's how we assess the success.
I have to say, I tend to agree if we're going after bad actors, which is the intent of this bill, and understanding, what Sean was saying, that some of the people taking these programs may come from difficult circumstances and may not complete. 25% does seem, pretty low, a low bar to exceed. 10% seems, really, really low. A 10% not success rate is pretty low. That's just my thoughts on it. Anything else on the amendments before we vote on the amendments? All right, all in favor of the amendments,
Aye.
say aye or raise your hand.
I didn't realize
Okay.
you were taking a vote. Yes.
Put your hand down. Okay, put your hand down. Please. Thank you. Any opposed to the amendments? All right, amendments passed. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I didn't catch a count of everyone that voted.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Can we do that again? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye for the amendments.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so the amendments pass. Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Okay, bill has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Delegate Chisholm is opposed. Any other opposed? I have Delegate Chisholm opposed. Okay. All right, bill passes as amended. Kyra, did you get the count on that?
Yes, I have it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now I just want to make sure
Of course, I appreciate that.
Make sure we're documenting everything. Okay, great. So we will now move on to HB 1480, which also has amendments. And Kyra, do you want to, we did talk about this a little bit last time. We actually now have the official amendments, which I did send out to everybody. Or Kyra sent out, sorry. Go ahead, Kyra.
Ready? And to bring the public up to speed on the bill prohibits a unit in the executive branch from petitioning or applying to the federal government for a waiver of any federal Fair Labor Standards Act provision that is applicable to the unit, even if the waiver is otherwise authorized under federal law. The bill also prohibits employers from forming specified employee involvement organizations that are not subject to the National Labor Relations Act or under the jurisdiction of the National Labor Relations Board. The bill expands the jurisdiction of the Public Employee Relations Board to cover private employees under specified conditions. The Commissioner of Labor and Industry may assess a civil penalty against a person who violates specified child labor laws. And would you like me to go over the amendments again?
Well, let me just ask, we did look at the amendments on the screen, last time, yesterday, it seems like weeks
Yes.
ago. And I did send out the amendments. So is there anybody on the subcommittee who would like to go through the amendments on the screen? Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion on the amendments, and then we'll discuss?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second on the amendments?
Second.
Thank you. All right, so the amendments have been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Chisholm.
I'm assuming we're not talking about my amendment that I had sent over, correct?
Well, correct. I sent that
Okay.
out, and we'll get to that next. We're talking
Perfect.
about the sponsor amendments right now.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Any other discussion on the sponsor amendments? All right, any, all in favor of the sponsor amendments, say aye, or raise your hand. Okay, any opposed? All right, seeing no opposed, to the sponsor amendments, the amendments have been adopted. Delegate Chisholm did send over some additional amendments. Kyra, do you have that? Are you able to share
I
screen?
do. Brief indulgence.
Once the screen is shared and you get down to the amendment, I'll let Delegate Chisholm introduce them.
Sure. There you are, Delegate Chisholm. And
wanna
Madam Chair, did you
Just
want?
yeah, just scroll down to where it starts, I think.
Okay, so this is a technical amendment at the top, and the substance of the amendment starts here.
Great. Thank you. Delegate Chisholm, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I just was seeking to remove some of the vague language. And then what I'd like to do is turn it over to either Matt or Sean to speak in detail. Since
Sure.
I know they felt it was vague as well.
Sean or Matt?
Yeah, the intent, thank you, Madam Chair. We raised this in the subcommittee, and I'm trying to get to the section, but it's the purpose of this language, which we don't disagree with the general purpose, which is to prevent an in-house union that is controlled by the company. And Section 8A2 of the National Labor Relations Act already does that. So if under this bill, if the National Labor Relations Act was repealed, the National Labor Relations Act would be adopted so that they would be barred with language that's consistent. But the language in this section is it's very broad, and and I think hospitals have objected and they've tried to address it for them, but there are work groups that are formed in companies where benefits and conditions may be discussed. This is what we want to encourage between employers and employees, whether they're represented or they're not represented. There are additionally something called meet and confer regularly that happens at both the municipal level and at in the private sector, where groups who are not eligible to be organized under a union contract, like supervisory employees, are able to meet with their meet with the owners of a company or management in the public sector and negotiate and discuss, not negotiate, but meet and confer about wage and working conditions. The way this is worded, it's very broad, and I think it sends a chilling effect. It's telling an employer can't let an employee group form and can't sit and talk about issues of concern. And there are some conditions to that, but it's already covered under the NLRB in 8A2, which prohibits this type of conduct, and it's done in a more precise fashion. And I just think this is superfluous and confusing. Other than that, we were fine with the bill when we testified, and we're okay with it otherwise.
Thank you. So Kyra, I just want to clarify before we continue the discussion on this. Is this part that's being removed part of what would only go into effect if the contingency is met? Did we lose you?
I didn't realize I was muted, Madam Chair. My apologies. The contingency is only in the bill as amended by the sponsor. In the bill as introduced, there isn't a contingency.
Right, but
Right.
we have adopted those amendments. So
Okay.
if the bill were to go through with the amendments, would this be part of what would only go into effect if the contingency
Give
takes
me
effect?
1 second. I'll pull up the reprint just so we can see where that section starts, where the contingency starts.
Thank you.
Of course.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think it applies to section 2, and this is in section 1.
This is a long one. Okay. I scrolled past it. The contingency that's correct. The contingency is in section 2. This amendment falls in 406. I believe that would be yes, that's correct. It would be in section 1.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
And I thought I saw Delegate Terrassa had her hand up. Did you have anything or are you good?
I thought there was a section that, sorry. I thought there was a section that allowed for the formation of a committee or governance structure, but unfortunately, I apparently don't have my copy of the reprint.
It was sent out by email. You
Oh, wait,
should.
I have it. Yes, I'm gonna look for it, but
All
yeah.
right. Yeah, go ahead. And I'm gonna let Elizabeth Bobo speak first. Call on Elizabeth.
Yes, so the amendments, the sponsors' amendments did take into account what Mr. Malone was saying. On page 6 of the reprint, under line 27, it allows for the formation of a committee or governance structure required for accreditation or designation by a state or national organization. So this amendment did try to address this question.
Great. Thank you so much. President Edwards.
I do have appreciation for Sean's concerns, but I just want to add, this is specifically about the formation, meaning that, you are officially using this as a replacement for possibly, joining a union or forming a union. And the bottom line is, even within union organizations or, places that within the government particularly, but also within all of our private unions, we also have committees that are formed between labor and management. We have official labor management committees, but then we have health and safety committees. We have good and welfare committees. These are not formal entities. They're not, organizations, but they are outside of the bargaining. They're, groups of people who come together for whatever they are looking for in a workplace that aren't necessarily bargainable issues. So I don't see where it precludes. I don't see where it's confusing. And the entire point of having this bill, this law, is if the NLRA ceases to exist, which is threatened several times in Project 2025, that Maryland would have it already in a statute. And just having language that if it's repealed, then we adopt the NLRA is not what this is about. This is providing us the framework so we don't have to hustle if that should happen. And, it is a contingency. And so I appreciate where Sean is coming from. And I would say that it doesn't stop having committees. It stops having organized entities in a replacement of what could be an organized union.
Thank you. And if there were organized entities that the ones that they're trying to replace here, employees would not be protected in the same way they would be with a union. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And it is something that management can shut down tomorrow, as we've had happen even in unionized places where they may not like where we're going with health and safety, and they just call off the committee. So we've had that. Yes, there's no protection in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delegate Chisholm. You're muted, Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you. I'm not looking at the reprint, but on the original bill on page 6, line 6, it uses the word organization or entity in the workplace. Is entity defined anywhere?
Council, do you have, see you scrolling, do you have the
Yeah, I
answer?
was scrolling to the top to see. I don't believe entity is defined under the bill. And you said page 6, line 6, let's see.
Yeah, in the original, if you look,
It's under subsection B. I see it. I
Yeah.
don't, it's not defined under the bill, no.
Okay. Are you done, Delegate Chisholm?
Yeah, I don't know what else to ask about that other than that, you
Okay.
know, entity is not defined.
Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would just note that really 1, 2, and 3 here of B are actually not really doing a whole lot of work. The provision here that's doing all the work is B4, because it basically says that the only groups, the problematic employee union groups that we're trying to target are only the ones that the Trump administration is specifically trying to liberate from the coverage of the National Labor Relations Act. And so the federal exemption criterion there means that in practice, the provision only activates for structures that the federal government has specifically called out and exempted. And the universe of those groups is much narrower than the universe of all workplace groups. So I am going to vote against the amendment. I understand the problems that Delegate Chisholm and Mr. Malone are raising, and honestly, I'm happy to work with everyone if they're, on maybe a clarifying amendment for a full committee. I think that we could probably look at like having affirmative exclusions, like employee resource groups organized around identity, or like OSHA mandated safety committees, or groups that don't address wages or hours or core terms of the employment or whatever. Like, I think we could come up with some exclusions to tighten this a little bit based on Mr. Malone's concerns. But I think striking this language in its entirety, I don't support, because I think it gets to an important point here, which is that Mr. Malone is correct that under the National Labor Relations Act, there's already the language banning these groups.
Right.
But the reality is that they're not being enforced. Like the general counsel of the NLRB has been fired. There's no quorum. Like, there's no enforcement of those provisions in the National Labor Relations Act. And the whole point of this bill and this section, even irrespective of the whole trigger thing, is we want to be able to protect workers here from these dangerous employee union groups. And right now, we can't count on the federal government to enforce existing federal law. So in summation, I'm going to vote against the amendment. I think it's too broad just to strike this entire section, but I'm very open to discussing this with Delegate Chisholm, Mr. Malone, Mr. Tafoe, whomever, before a full committee, to see if we can maybe tighten the language slightly to get at these kind of meet and confer and, work council type concerns without just completely throwing the whole section in.
Great, thank you so much. Any further discussion on Delegate Chisholm's amendment? All right, is there a motion?
Motion to move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the amendment has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand or say aye. I see one, Delegate Chisholm. Is there anybody else? Okay, put your hand down, please. Any opposed to the amendment, raise your hand or say aye. Keep it up for a minute so Kyra can get the count.
Aye.
Motion fails.
Okay, the motion fails. Thank you. All right, is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable.
Is
Second.
there a second? Okay, any discussion on the bill as amended? All right, all in favor of the bill as amended, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Delegate Chisholm is opposed. Anyone else? All right, Kyra, you got the count?
I was opposed.
Oh, Delegate
Yeah,
Siliberti, did you say you're
I-
opposed?
we may have to
Opposed.
count again because I didn't see everyone vote.
Okay, sorry. We have, let's start with opposed since Delegate Chisholm still has his hand up. I have Delegate Chisholm and Delegate Siliberti. Is there anyone else opposed? Okay, and who is in favor? Raise your hand.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So that's it for today. Or at least for right now, I can't promise that we won't have another meeting. There are still some things in process, but we are, I believe, voting at 2:30. Kyra, is that correct? Do you know?
I believe that's correct.
Everything is changing so much in
I
crossover
know,
week. It's
things
hard,
change
it's
so
hard to keep track. So I will see you all in committee at 2:30, and I believe we're on the floor at 5:30. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.